worked on, because like I said, one great game, two average games, another good game, two average games.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's indicative of the way the Warriors do tend to play as well. It's like Sean Johnson's like some sort of barometer. If he goes well, they go well. But mate, I'd love to see him in another team. I'd love to see him with the Melbourne Storm. We could definitely turn him into something great there. But wherever he ends up, still got to wish him all the best, and hopefully Sean can fulfil their potential.
What do you reckon, Reno? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about him, especially of late. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I suppose he'll make that decision when it comes. It is a tough decision, and I totally agree with Johnny Thurston, what his comment was, because I've always thought Sean's got the potential to be a better player over there in Australia behind another pack and with another franchise, obviously, because that word consistency comes up every year, and well, for the last 20 bloody years, actually, when you talk about the Warriors, it's a big year next year for the Warriors. They celebrate 25 years in the NRL. Everyone's seeing the merchandise that's out there. It's gone back to the old colours from way back in the DB Bitter days as well. Well, when they were known as the Auckland Warriors then as well, or the DB Bitter Warriors. So, potentially, I'd love to see the kid go overseas and see how he goes over there in Australia. Melbourne Storm would have been my first pick. Great team, one of the best team, if not the best, going around in the modern era, and he would have just suited in there because him teaming up with the likes of Munster and all that type of stuff. I couldn't, these are things I can imagine when I see this kid play, but it's unfortunate. He really hasn't been that same player since he broke his leg a couple of seasons ago, and he's kind of struggled there. But when he's on fire, mate, the headline, Sean Johnson magic, it's all this type of stuff. But when he's not working, man, he gets slammed. And you got to realise too, he's still only a young fella, engaged to a beautiful lady, got a nice place going. So in due time, he'll make his decision, and it's going to be a tough one for this young guy.
Now, your mate there, JT, my uncle Keith, is not a huge fan of Sean Johnson. He's always said that for the last few years he's had two good games every year. What do you reckon, eh?
Well, I feel very sorry for you that you're named after that bloke, but good man, old Keithy. Look, he's probably right, and it must hurt him to say because he's a die-hard Warriors supporter. We've had some humdinger arguments over the years. Keith and I. We used to sit in the same office, and the boss would tell us to shut up because we'd be arguing about rugby league. Unfortunately, old Keith's right, but. Like I said, he's still got an opportunity or the chance. He's still got a bit of a career left to try and redeem himself.
Salvage something,
to get to the pinnacle and to prove to everyone that he was a good player. But at the moment, the inconsistency is always going to rear its ugly head whenever you're talking about Sean Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, that is the key. He's still got the goods, though, hasn't he, Reno? That appears to, that's...
Well, for me, that's a damn good question, to be honest, Keithy. I'd find that question quite hard to answer to because he outweighs his inconsistency more with his consistency. Had a brilliant background with the under-20s coming on through, and there was a lot put on this kid's shoulders. Really, he was the prodigy to Stacey Jones, as some would say, and it just, it's just the way of a professional league. Everyone kind of puts him up against JT, Cooper Strong. Different players.
And he has been so good though. In particular, he's had some very, very good games for the Kiwis as well. So I guess that's why people have kind of compared him, and because he's had so much promise there too. What do you reckon, Reno? Or JT, what do you reckon?
I can't quite hear you. I feel like I'm hearing the static. I can't quite hear what you're talking about, JT.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just saying...
Now I can.
Oh, there we go. Well, I was just saying that, he was just... he had such a lot of promise, though, didn't he? And it's just a shame that he hasn't really kind of fulfilled it, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's what everyone has seen, obviously, over his career. Because so much right. It's it'll be a horrible situation where he is because so much pressure is put on this young kid. He's a popular player with all the fans. The young ones look at him, and there's a lot of kids kind of molding their game around them. A lot of touch players too, by the way. So, you kind of get put into the similar boat when you take a look at Benji Marshall, who played extremely well and was fairly consistent over the years with the Tigers. Then he branched away, tried to have a go at Union, and he went to go back as well. And, there's just so many good players, mate, but that's the life of a league. Hey, if you go and take a look at the likes we talked about just a few minutes ago, Jared Hayne, mate, he was the man of the moment when he was Parramatta Eels grand final. He was everything. Every kid wanted to be the next Jared Hayne, and then that's come falling down the grace over the last few weeks. So that's just part of a professional sportsman. And look at Kieran Reid and the All Blacks. He was a great player playing next to Richie McCaw and the Crusaders and everything like that, and the wheels are slowly falling off. So that's just the life of a professional sportsman, and people just got to come to grips with it. We can't expect them to turn up every day. They're human beings. It's the reality of it.
It's very, very, very true there, Reno. Anyway, we're going to go to a break. We'll be back with more Full Time right after this. Tūranga FM.
You're listening to a podcast produced by Tūranga FM, #1 iwi radio station in Aotearoa. We play each full-time session on Tūranga FM Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. You can listen in live on our Tūranga FM media page. Just click the main Tūranga FM logo to tune in online. Or if you're in the Gisborne area, we're on the radio frequencies 91.7, 95.7 and 98.1. Also check out the Full-Time Facebook page where you can listen to the podcast again. Make comments and click links that will lead you to other ways to listen to the podcast, such as Spreaker, iTunes, SoundCloud, Twitter, YouTube, Podchaser and Tumblr. Right, let's get back to the Fools on Full-Time.
Welcome along to our second session here on Full Time. Want to send a shout out going out to our sponsors, of course, Racecrack Motors down there on Grace Street. Go and check them out. Now, one thing that's been happening, I suppose, so I don't know if it's gotten any big draw or big promotion at all. There is the Australian Baseball League that's been happening, and of course just saying that because the Auckland Tuataras, they won their first, I suppose, big game in on New Zealand soil. Have you been hearing much about that there, Reno?
Yeah, been watching quite a bit of this as well. I think that was first win at home against the Brisbane Bandits, if I remember rightly. So, I know at the start of this week, they had struggled slightly to get a baseball home here in New Zealand, but things seem to work well there. So, looks like things are going pretty good. And obviously, they had a few fans there to cheer them on. So, no, it has been good. And, we've been so big in our country when it comes to softball. We're pretty much all number one and seeing them win and that stuff. So it's good to see the baseball creation. And, I think what I listened to the American coach talking about this as well is the opportunities for these young ones to have a go at the game of baseball, but also on the bigger side of things, aside from playing in the ABL, also the contracts overseas in America where it's, worth big money and everything like that. So, I think it's good. Great to see them use the name Tuatara. And they're looking pretty sharp. So, so let's hope it can only grow, and that's not a bad start for our New Zealand franchise, creating history, 5-4 win over Brisbane.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been kind of keeping up, or has it been touted a bit over there, JT?
I've seen it on some of the Fox Sports news stuff. It's one of the last sort of items every half-hourly bulletin. So it's not a huge thing over here, the baseball, but certainly because there's a New Zealand element added to it this season, I'll keep an eye on the old Tuatara. But yeah, they beat the Brisbane Bandits the other day, so good win for the boys. I think there's a team called the Sydney Storm, and I don't know the other ones. Look, it's not that, like I say, not very well publicised here, but interesting for the baseball fans at home. Good stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's quite well. It's quite interesting, I think, because I know our man Ra Walker, had he been, had he actually been on the show with us today, Reno? He certainly would have been talking about it, because I know for a fact he's very interested for some reason in the American form of the game. Although I know he's also a bit of a softball buff. But it's certainly something interesting to keep an eye on, Reno?
Oh, totally. I think you taught Ra there. He seems to love a lot of the American sports. You hear it when he talks. He talks about ice hockey, everything up in the American side of things. But yeah, he's got a massive passion, especially for softball. And when you think about what we've achieved in the game of softball, even though they just get recognised at maybe the odd one or two sport awards at the end of the year, it's like JT said right at the start there, it's mostly the last bulletin that comes up in the headlines of mainstream news these days, So it seems to be just one of those things, has a backward step. But, I think it's a great start, and it's good to take something like that. And, hey, we've got the talent here. I know some kids are playing at primary school level the game called pegball, which I played all those years ago back at school. So if there's a chance for a kid to swing a bat, hit a ball, and then there's also the other opportunity of cricket. So it's another sport. I reckon it's a great avenue, and I loved baseball when I was watching it as a kid. The overthrow from the pitch and everything like that. And look, I grew up playing softball, and I was taught by a great coach, Chub Tangaroa, many years ago, and that's when I got to meet the likes of Kevin Hulahi. Right. He also came along because I was a pitcher back in the day and contracted to Counties Monaco.
Wow.
Yeah, at a club up there. And so you meet these grades, and that opportunity to be taught by them because they saw potential in you as just one of these things, which I guess the Auckland Tuatara, when they had some of the American scouts over. So these are these opportunities. And like I say, I'm all over this. I just love these type of things. And giving these young ones something to step up to, aspire to, and in Māori terms, represent the whānau, and hey, who knows, might be some more bread and butter on the table, and which is going to help out the whānau long term, and they may get a contract over there, and I would even say America or Japan.
Yes, true that. In fact, I remember a couple of years ago, I think a couple of young boys from New Zealand were picked up by I can't remember the team, but they were picked up, and they were only just teenagers a couple of years ago. So yeah, it's it can lead to some big things, that is for sure. Now, JT, were you ever involved, or have you ever picked up a bat and swung it in softball or the like that?
Yeah, I did have one season for the Strikers back in Gizzy there.
Oh, right.
So there's lots of Api Tākoko, Larry Tākoko, Richard Okamo. Our pitcher was Hootman Campbell.
Yes.
Who liked how the catcher gives the signal to the pitcher what pitch he wants. So automatically just give the old hang loose, one of the better, because Hootman was obviously tied with the mongrel mob. So that was for his. That was what do you call it? That was for his fastball.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was. It was good fun. But I certainly enjoy the American sports. I've been fortunate enough to travel over there a few times, and I've been to probably the highlight of one of the highlights of my sporting travels has been going to this 2013 Super Bowl in New Orleans. The San Francisco 49ers lost to the Baltimore Ravens that day. I've been to the Staples Center to watch the Lakers.
Wow.
I've been to the Yankee Stadium to watch the New York Yankees. I'm a San Francisco Giants fan. But, I've been fortunate enough to be to a few events. And then, in terms of my softballing ability, I was more of a cricketer. I was the only one to hit the ball sort of through the slips and think I'd done a good shot. That's the foul, you idiot.
Well, it's interesting because you bring up the name Hoot Campbell. I was also in a team with Hoot, where he was obviously the pitcher. And I'll tell you what, he was a pretty solid pitcher as well, to be quite honest. I think I was playing either first base for a season there, but it's certainly an interesting game, I think. It can be a lot of fun, and it's I think it's a great experience. But I know for some particular reason, our Māori brethren seem to